Well, it's absolutely wonderful to be here. Hello, I'm Mike Russell from musicradiocreative.com. In this session coming up in 1 minute 54 seconds, we'll look at EQ in audio mixing and why it is of the utmost importance to get correct, to get your audio mix sounding absolutely spot on. So that's coming up in today's session. Meanwhile, if you're just arriving in the live chat now for the live stream, do announce yourself. Feel free to let me know who you are and where you're watching from in the world, and also what brought you here. So why have you arrived at this live stream on my channel? If you're watching the replay, fast forward by 1 minute and 22 seconds, get straight to the content. Be delighted to have you straight in there, but otherwise let's have some fun in the pre-chat and see who is in and ready to go live as we get going for another show. I can see Pete's there. We've also got David Hunter, Tim Redman as well, amongst others just arriving in on the live chat now. Paige, Mr. Mega Radio UK as well.
Testing the left speaker, left. Testing the right speaker, right. Testing phaser. All frequency sweep.
Stand by for Music Radio Creative Live with Mike Russell.
MRC Live.
Music Radio Creative Live.
With Mike Russell.
Starting in 30 seconds.
There you are. Hello, I'm Mike Russell here from musicradiocreative.com. Lots of audio going on in the background if you're watching on the live stream or the replay. You are very warmly welcomed if you're new to the show as well. This is the show for voiceover artists, radio producers, DJs, podcasters, anyone who's into the world of audio and making things sound great. Welcome to the show. And by the way, it's just gone 2 o'clock there on my... on my watch. Can you see that? Maybe not. Anyway, it is 2 o'clock in the UK. Let's get started, shall we? Into this hour of power.
Audio Guru is here. He knows Adobe Audition in and out and is here to help you out. Mike Russell.
That's right.
Music Radio Creative. Your audio production hour starts now. MusicRadioCreative.com.
It does indeed start now. Welcome along. If you're chatting away in the live chat, do keep the chats coming in. I will get round to the chats. Usually I do them every 15 minutes. I rifle through some questions. I display them up on the screen here and interact with you, because that's what it's all about. It's not just about me talking for one whole hour, things related to audio, but also answering your questions. So if you've got anything to ask about EQ today, I'd be delighted to answer it. What I'm hoping to do in this session is go through Adobe Audition and look at the basic EQs, because there's like 4, 5, 6 of them inside Audition. Why would you use those different EQs? What are they there for? How are they there to help you? So that's coming up in this show. If we get time towards the end of the hour, I'll look at some third-party plugins from places like iZotope and Waves as well that you can use to take your EQing to a whole new level. So it's so exciting. And like I say, do get those questions in, because I will answer them as much as I can. Just before we get into it, I wanted to show you this. It's my 1 hour of personal audio production coaching. You can see the products over there. Now completely full for November. Thank you to you if you've booked into one of the slots. It has been really busy this month, and that's a good thing. So thank you. I'm really delighted to help you to sound better, whether that's using Adobe Audition or whether you're in Audacity. The DAW, Digital Audio Workstation, doesn't matter so much as your willingness to learn and just grasp the basics or the advanced techniques of audio. So don't worry if you're not using Audition, if you're using something else. Most of the time I can pretty much work with it, and if I can't, I'll quickly look up the hotkeys, because it's all about just learning new hotkeys. The basics of audio does remain the same. Now taking bookings for December. because December's a bit of a funny small month with the Christmas break and everything. I'm already booked, so I have 2 spaces left. If you'd like to get in, mrc.fm/coaching. I'll give you a 1-hour personal one-on-one session with myself. I would love to have the opportunity to help you take your audio game up. So go to mrc.fm/coaching. 2 spaces left for the rest of 2017, and then we'll start looking into 2018. So yeah, mrc.fm/coaching to get involved with that. So here's Adobe Audition, and just before I get into it, I wanted to ask you right now in the chat, because I can see there's quite a few of you in the chat, wherever you're watching right now, I'd like you to type this into the chat. We've had a thought, Isabella and I, about potentially taking some of these skills on the road to various different locations. Obviously, for us, it makes the most sense to run a kind of workshop or boot camp or whatever it might be up in the Big Smoke in London. That's just the closest city to us. Sorry for my viewers. I know there's a lot of you watching in the US now, places like, Los Angeles and New York and elsewhere. But I think if we started something like this, it would probably be in London. That's not to say that, if it went well, we couldn't take it elsewhere in the world. So what I would like to know from you right now, this is kind of like a live straw poll for anyone watching live right now. If there was something that you would pay to attend a workshop on in a physical location, what is it you would like to learn? So would you like to learn put some ideas in your head, the basics of radio imaging? Would you like to learn how to start your own podcast? Would you like to learn, working with voice talent, or maybe improving your voice as a voiceover artist? What would be your reason for actually booking to come to a physical location to learn more about something to do with audio? It doesn't necessarily have to be Adobe Audition. Like I say, it could be something to do with podcasting or, producing commercials or improving your voiceover technique, anything. What is it that you would be interested to come to a physical location like a conference room or something like that to learn about? Like I say, Isabella and I are in the initial stages. By the way, those of you who don't know, Isabella is my wife and business partner. So we're in the initial sort of thinking stages of possibly putting something on in 2018. But I would very much like to get a straw poll from you right now on what it is you would like to learn and what you would actually pay for to turn up to a physical location to learn more about. And obviously, it's not just about the learning, but you'd obviously meet other people who are interested in the same thing as you, a lot of networking opportunities, that kind of stuff. So, if you know me, you know I love the opportunity to actually meet in person and do things in real life. I'm a big fan of conferences and events. Very much missed doing conferences and events this year. Another project that Isabella and I have been involved in the past is a conference called New Media Europe. You can still find the website at newmediaeurope.com. That's about helping bloggers, content creators, vloggers, podcasters to up their game. And yeah, we're just thinking about doing something, but maybe a little smaller, maybe like classes of 20 or 30 people learning something. So it would really help me right now if you'd write into the chat what it is. And I won't call them out right now on the show, but you can be absolutely certain that at the end of the show, I will go back through the comments and look at every single comment you've left. Like I say, would really, really help me out. So thank you for that. Right, let's get into it. And the first thing I would like to talk to you about related to equalization, that's what EQ is short for, is getting things to sound the same. This is a common problem that I know so many audio producers suffer from. It's like working out how they get EQ sounding the same. So what I've got here is I've got a jingle for a radio station we've been working with recently over in Armenia. And this is a sung jingle. And over here, this is a produced jingle. And I wanted to show you when you have that problem where just two pieces of production don't sound the same. So for instance, over here, this is a jingle that, by the way, is not produced by Music Radio Creative. This was created by another company. I don't know the name of the company. I didn't find that out. So this jingle, I want to just absolutely state, is not produced by Music Radio Creative. But it has amazing EQ, compression, and everything else on it. And I want to show you how it sounds in comparison to a jingle that we produced but not mastered here. So in order to do that, I'm going to go over into multi-track here using the MRC template, and I'm going to drag in that jingle from the third-party jingle production company and our voiceover jingle. So this is like a sung jingle, and this is a voiceover jingle. As you'll see already, there's a few dB difference in them, and there's probably differences in equalization as well. But with both of them, they should be produced to high standards, so no tweaking of levels required. It's just a simple mastering process. So first you're going to hear the jingle produced by a third-party company, then you're going to hear our jingle, and I'm going to show you how you can match our jingle so it's got the same equalization and compression and sound as the initial jingle. Let's have a listen anyway.
Armenia's #1 hit music station, 88.3 Kiss FM.
And then our jingle.
Music now
On Armenia's #1 hit music station.
88.3 Kiss FM.
So as you probably noticed, the first jingle was really bright, really in your face, really nicely compressed and EQ'd, and it kind of lost its power when it went into the jingle we've made there. And there are a few reasons for that. Obviously, EQ is a part of that. And when I've demonstrated this process, I'll then get into the finer details of EQ and the different EQs inside Adobe Audition. So let's take a look at what's going on here. Well, first of all, this is what we call in the industry C2F compression, which is... I don't think I can say the F on the air, otherwise this wouldn't be a family show, but suffice to say the first two letters stand for compressed 2. Yeah. And then over here, you can see a lot more dynamic range. You can see obviously the peaks. There's a bit of hard limiting already going on this piece of production. But obviously you can see the valleys going on there. So a lot of dynamic range, whereas this jingle that's coming from another company, no dynamic range. Everything is C2F there. So how do we get something matching? Well, first thing I would do is to match these jingles up is I'd select all of that. I'd pop open the amplitude statistics window, which is here. I use this often, and I would scan it to find out the peak amplitude, which is minus 0.1 dB. Okay, now I'm armed with information. I can go back to ours, and I can scan it in amplitude statistics. See, minus 2.21 dB. So already we're losing 2 dB of sound. That's a big deal. This can easily be fixed with an effect in the effects menu called Special, Mastering, and I'm going to go to the default setting here and show you in the preview window how things change. Now, first of all, the mastering effect has a really good loudness maximizer feature, and this is what I call the C2F feature on mastering. Yeah? If you want to C2F this jingle, you can put it up to 100% and boom, you get a big sausage. And it looks kind of similar to the other jingle from the other company. But I don't want to go too bad, otherwise it's really going to rub out the dynamic range. So I think about 40% might be enough here. Yeah, bit of dynamic range, bit of breathing space there. That's okay. I might even go a bit further down to say 30%. Widener, we don't need in this case because that's just a stereo widener. If you're working with a jingle that's got lots of stereo stuff going on, you might pop a bit on to just make it pop out both speakers a little bit more. Reverb I won't be using. Output gain I might use. EQ over here, I'm going to focus on the EQ in a moment, but the exciter is a form of EQ. Usually I prefer the retro exciter. To be honest, there's not much difference between retro tape and tube. It's just the method that the excitement or exciter is applied. And personally, I've gone through them all. Very subtle differences, but I prefer retro. That's just my favorite. And exciter will distort the trebles on your audio. So when you get jingles that sound really bright and really vibrant and really nice, and you wonder, why doesn't mine sound like that? It sounds really flat and the EQ's not right. An exciter can easily help you get there. Let's pop this up to 60, 70, 80%, and you'll hear the difference. What I'm going to do is play this jingle back now with its current settings, and I'm going to switch the mastering on and off so you can hear the difference.
New music now
On Armenia's #1 hit music station.
88.3 Kiss FM.
Now, I really hope, unless your ears are completely blown out, you did notice the difference. Let's try again. Watch as I switch the effect on and off.
New music now
On Armenia's #1 hit music station.
88.3 Kiss FM.
So what have I got on there? Yes, I have got EQ going on. I've got a bit of loudness maximizer. That compresses it nicely. And I've got exciter, which is distorting and doing all kinds of crazy things to the treble and bringing it out. But then over here, we have an equalizer that you're going to see, and I'm going to go into in more detail in just a moment, when I pop into the effects menu and look in the filter and EQ menu. Look at them. There's like 7 different EQs here. No wonder it is confusing for the beginner to Adobe Audition. So yeah, frequencies here from bass, mids, treble, all there, or low shelf, high shelf, peaking. So if I switch those all off, I lose all the points. I cannot control the EQ in this mastering effect. But say if I wanted to add a nice bit of EQ to a certain point of this sweeper, I can kind of sweep and notch around. I can change the Q, which will obviously change how notchy the EQ is, just like a traditional equalizer. go into more detail in that in just a moment. Let's make it 1, like it was. And I can pick the frequency that I'd like to enhance by playing back and moving around.
New music now
On Armenia's #1 hit music station.
88.3 Kiss FM.
There's a nice crunch around there, around the 266 mark, 2660 hertz. High shelf and low shelf, if you want to do a bit of the kind of audio smile there, you can.
New music now
On Armenia's #1 hit.
And you're really increasing the lows and the highs. Great, fantastic. Apply. We'll run scan selection again. Oh, minus 0.45 dB. Right, didn't quite crack that because it was 0.1 dB on the other jingle. So let's go back. Where are we? Special mastering. Trying to get this to sound the same as the other jingle. So we'll just use the output gain, and I'm going to put it up by 0.35 dB. Oh, okay, it rounds it up, so 0.4. Apply, scan selection. Okay, peak amplitude is minus 0.1 dB. Just the same as if we go over to the original Kiss FM sung jingle from another company, minus 0.1 dB. Okay, these guys are heavyweights now. They can compete in the same space and not sound awkward, because obviously, you know, it's a common thing. We get that often when we work with radio stations. They'll come to us and say, right, we want the voiceover imaging from you, but we've gone to X other company or Y other company to get the sung vocals. And that's absolutely fine. Sometimes it works the other way around. Sometimes we produce the sung jingles, but they say, we've already got a voice artist that we've selected, we found, and we're happy with that voice artist, so we're going to use them and do the production in-house or whatever, and that's fine too. But just bear in mind, this can be a problem because obviously you are trying to match the EQ and settings that the other jingle company has used, and you're trying to figure that all out because of course it's a secret sauce that no one talks about apart from me. And so it's like, yeah, it's a bit of trial and error. Another thing you can do that's helpful, just before I play these two pieces, is you can go through the piece. Say you've got this piece from another jingle company, and you look and you say, okay, peak amplitude is minus 0.1. That's where I've got to hit now with my compression, or with my peak, or my hard limiting, or whatever. You might say, but I need a clue on what kind of EQ to use. So this is where, and I'll show you this in more detail in a second, frequency analysis comes in handy. And I'm just going to pop that over here. Pop that over here somewhere, right, like that. Oh, we're losing our essential sound panel. Let's move that over so you can see the chat. That's nice. And frequency analysis, well, if I just play a bit of this and click one of these numbers.
Kiss FM.
Okay, so there we go. Now we can see kind of the EQ that the mastering or the audio producer used to master this jingle. And as you can see, nice big notch below 2K, so lots of pump up on the bass. You might want to increase the bass on your jingle. Lots of audio rolled off here between 2 and 4K, bear that in mind. Back up again between 6 and 8, and then a nice kind of pink noise style roll off towards 22 kilohertz. So again, I'll show you how you can use this in more detail later when we get into the nitty-gritty of EQ. But let's compare these two jingles side by side now and see if my little work with the mastering effect in Effects Special Mastering has worked.
Armenia's #1 hit music station. 88.3 Kiss FM.
New music now
On Armenia's #1 hit music station.
88.3 Kiss FM.
And now you can hear the vocal jingle matches up nicely with EQ and compression with the sung jingle. No problems there. We can all go home happy. And in fact, you see this red line here. This is a print I took from the equalization of the Kiss FM sung jingle. Let's just take another print now of the voiceover sweeper.
One hit music station.
And move that away so we don't have all that conflicting stuff. So as you can see, the yellow line is pretty much, particularly here in the high frequencies, matching the Kiss FM sung jingle, although we got a bit of a dip here at around 8K, so I might want to notch up. That gives me an indication I want to notch up the frequencies around 8,000 hertz. Bass, again, I might want to notch up around 2,000 hertz. Little clues we can get like that from frequency analysis. Super handy window to have access to. So there you go. I hope that gives you a really good sort of overview of how you can match EQs. Hope this is really helping you out. And like I say, in the next section, we are going to get...
415-800.
Thank you.
1050.
What are those strange numbers? That's the number to call if you want to get through to the studio, by the way. Taking calls, as you will, live and direct. I was going to say I'll get into the nitty-gritty of the EQ effects inside Adobe Audition in just a moment. But yes, there is a phone-in number indeed, as the jingle lady rightly mentioned. Call this number right now if I'm live streaming and you'll get through to me live on the air.
415-800-1055.
Do remember it's a US number, so check how much it's going to cost you and add +1 if you're outside the US.
MusicRadioCreative.com.
This is Mike Russell on MusicRadioCreative.com.
All right, cool. Let's take a look at what you've been saying in the Q&A. Wherever you are watching right now, I'm more than happy to interact with you and take your questions live on here and see what you've got going on. So anything that you've mentioned, let's have a look and do some shout-outs. We've got Lord Sasta saying, thank you, sir. That's my pleasure. A sub to me, says Theo Taki. Thank you, Theo Taki, and thank you for watching. David Silk says, I like. Big fan of you too, David, and all the moderators. Thank you to all the moderators who join in. I see David Hunter is there, correctly identifying my acronym C2F production. C2F, that's what a lot of producers use. Very, very technical term. C2H, surely a PG rating is better. Now you've really got me, David. What does C2H mean? Compressed to hit? I don't know. Anyway, yes. What else have we got? Is there anyone who can produce a beat for my song here in the Philippines? Lord Sasta, you might want to go back to some of my old tutorials. If you go into something like Logic Pro, you can create drum beats really easily and bits like that. It's more than kind of you to say I'm your idol. My goodness. I don't view myself as an idol at all. I'd be happy to just meet the wonderful Mike Russell and Isabella in person and get a selfie with them. Oh, this is David referring to the question I asked at the start of the show. Yes, please do help me out with this. I can see actually a lot of you have posted in the comments. And David saying, come to Glasgow. It's the largest city in Scotland. Yeah. So, and I know there are people watching from all over the world. For instance, Robert right now says he's watching live from Ghana. So I am aware we have an international audience. Christopher says, come to 30 Rockefeller Plaza in the New York City. So yeah, it's cool. And thank you so much, Paige, by the way, for recommending my one-on-one coaching sessions. Yeah, just recently I did a one-on-one coaching session with Paige. Had an absolute blast with you, Paige. So I'm grateful that you'd give the wonderful recommendation. Couple of slots left. Booking for the month of December. mrc.fm/coaching to get in on that. And yeah, if you are interested in turning up to a live event, I would like to know from you right now, kind of live straw poll, what it is you would like to learn. What would you be willing to pay for a weekend to learn in a city such as London? But it doesn't have to be London forever. London is obviously the closest city to myself, living here on the Isle of Wight. But it could go to Glasgow, it could go to Los Angeles, San Diego, it could go to somewhere in Ghana or in Uganda. It could go to Australia eventually. It's just like, let's get this thing started. Let's start getting people together. I'm all about like bringing people together in one space and that kind of community learning spirit. I really do think it's very healthy, particularly for people who work from home, as now it's, well, certainly entrepreneurs do it a lot, but also audio producers, as audio production becomes something that you can do in a home studio that's 2 meter by 2 meters squared. It can be quite a lonely thing, just sitting in your studio or your garden shed all day with soundproof tiles on, just running into the kitchen to meet your other half for a cup of tea every so often, or whoever else you have around the house, the rest of the family. So I am aware that we are going more and more into a world where we're going into our little nests, as we like to call them, and we're not getting out there as much as we could be. And, radio is changing. People can work remotely. People can voice track shows remotely. And while I think that's good in terms of the planet and the fact that we're hopefully not putting so many carbon emissions out into the atmosphere, because not so many of us will be driving, because we can have that luxury of working from home. I do also think on the same term it's very sad that, whereas I grew up in radio working with a team of people and learning from mentors, perhaps the best experience for the new generation is watching someone like Mike Russell on YouTube from your home computer. So I'm all about sort of getting people into the same space with the same ideas. So if there is something you would like to learn about, you'd be willing to pay to come to a central location to learn for a weekend, type it into the chat box wherever you're watching. And I'd be grateful for that contribution from you today. Right, let's learn more about EQ. And as you can see here, I've got quite a few voiceover files here. And of course, they're all done by different voice artists. Again, if I'm going to clear down now the settings here on my frequency analysis window. Let's look at how EQ on voiceover artists can vary dramatically. Here's our voiceover artist, Duke.
You're listening to...
Okay, there's a print on Duke's voice. And now we'll go to this voice. Excuse me. Find out who this is.
The Weeknd.
Okay, that's Pete. Look at Pete's dynamic range. Again, different to Duke's. As you can see, Duke is kind of rolling off around the 18,000 hertz mark, whereas Pete continues on. Most of them have sliding sort of pink noise style curves. Over here, let's pick a female voice maybe and have a listen to this. DJ Goodman. Oh, no, that's not a female. That's me. Let's try this one. Angelique. This will be a female voice.
He keeps you smiling.
Right, look at that. Again, different looks here. So it's all about trying to match EQs and make them all cool. Let's try one more.
Welcome to the...
So you can see how dramatically EQs vary from voice artist to voice artist. Now I'm going to show you how different EQs can work. So let's have a listen to this little bit of audio.
Welcome to the Danielle Adamski podcast, where
you'll learn. Okay, cool. Let's take this.
Where you'll learn inner mastery skills to live a life you love.
Okay, excellent. So, what are the different EQs good for inside Audition? Effects, filter, and EQ is where you can find them all. Which is the one I use the most? Definitely, hands down, parametric equalizer. I used to be a big fan of the graphic equalizers, but parametric equalizer is so good for isolating the bits that you want. How would I use all of these different EQs? Right. Graphic equalizer first. I would probably use more for EQing music. So let's drag in a music track. What have we got here? Hang on. Let's change my time display back to decimal. I was using bars and beats earlier. And we'll play some of this. That's just a sting. Let's find something else. Okay, here's a corporate-y style piece of music. So I'd use the graphic equalizer on this because graphic equalizer, let me show you, is quite good for very quickly notching up different EQ bands without having to scan around and find exact precise places. So perfect for EQing music. Let's go for the 20 band EQ. Now, if you've got an expensive home hi-fi or a stereo system or cinema system, you may well be familiar with this. You might have seen it in physical form where you can move the dials up and down, and essentially you're working on the bass frequencies up until about here, the mid frequencies around here, and then the high end around here, these last 4 or 5 bits. And you can obviously notch up and notch down, and it's doing so in terms of broad equalization as opposed to like specific frequencies. So for the music, I could just start looping it round and then messing with these to find something that makes this music pop out. Let's have a listen. Not much change there at 22K. Or there at 16. Now you can start to hear. Can you hear that? So that's really bringing the top end out at 11.3. You can take that out. So you can really alter different instruments in the mix just by notching up and notching down. And again. And obviously the mid-range. What I would do with the mid-range usually is try and duck a bit of this out so the voiceover can now cut across that music much easier. You'll hear me cutting across the music much easier when I knock down mid. And again, you've got bass here. Usually you don't hear things until you get to about the 88 mark, because anything below that is sort of not very perceivable by the human ear. You can definitely hear the bass, boxy bass moving in at 125, 180, 250, 355, 500. So brilliant for finding a nice EQ range or setting for music. That's how I'd use the graphic equalizer. And as you can see, a lot of the presets are kind of in line with that. We've got, let me just go back out to this view, stuff for a cymbal shimmer. Bright and punchy. This is actually a really good effect. It's almost like the stereo smile, rolling off a bit of bass, keeping the mids in, and then enhancing the highs. Very nice indeed. Love bright and punchy. Heavy guitar, as you can see, possible bass, sloping high-end boost, just lifting up the highs there on your audio. Voice magic. That's nice. Just adding again to the high frequencies here. But again, it's a sort of broad overview equalizer. And if you want to go into more detail, there's a couple of others. So you've got the 30-band equalizer, which is massive. Lots of different frequencies in there. And again, you've got more intricate presets here for guitar, keyboards, kicks, lead vocals, everything like that you can apply. So say if I was working with a lead vocal, boom, there you go. See, it's pulling out at around 200 hertz, but increasing here around the mid to highs. What else have we got? Snares. So everything you could imagine when we're talking musically there can be done. And of course, we've got the lesser version, which is the 10-band EQ. Very, very small and simple. And you get things like simple bass cut and simple high cut or simple high lift. Again, vocal presences that you can use on your voice, just enhancing the 2K. Usually a vocal presence sort of EQ will add or remove 2,000 hertz from your voiceover there. So that's a look at the graphic equalizer. Now we can have some fun and decide where would we use other EQ. Let me show you. Let me go back to Angelic.
He keeps you smiling on the dance floor.
Okay, that's great. So let's look at the first EQ we have got here called FFT filter. This is probably my second or third favorite EQ. And what this is good for is isolating particular frequencies. Okay, it's not so good at notching out, which you can do in the parametric. I'll kind of save that one till last because it's one of my favorites. But say I wanted to choose a specific band of frequencies I want to keep in and get rid of the rest. This is really good at that. This is the ninja skill of FFT. You just draw on dots or what you might call keyframes, pull out, say, the bass here, so we'll lose all the bass.
He keeps you smiling on the dance floor.
So now you just got the treble and mids left. And then if we wanted to have that telephone style effect, usually got a sort of bandwidth of 4,000, hasn't it? So if we get rid of everything above sort of 4K here, listen to this.
He keeps you smiling on the dance floor.
So you got that kind of telephone style effect. You can obviously increase it if you want, like that. And you can maybe roll in a bit more bass if you feel you're missing something. Real-time frequency analysis going on here as well, which is something that's only recently come in one of the latest versions of Audition. Highly worth upgrading for.
He keeps you smiling on the dance floor. He keeps you smiling on the dance floor. He keeps you
as opposed
smiling
to
on the dance floor. He keeps you smiling on the dance floor.
So isolate those frequencies, spline those curves, and make it more sort of smooth.
He keeps you.
Hang on, let's reapply it.
He keeps you smiling on the dance floor.
And the scale here you can change. So logarithmic is kind of basically showing you in bigger proportions the frequencies it reckons you'll want to focus on, like the frequencies the human ear can hear. And the high end is really squashed down up here between 10K and 20K, and the low end is squashed as well. But if you go to linear, all frequencies are equal. It's kind of like communism for EQ, and every frequency has like an easily identifiable scale here. But again, things can look quite funny that way. And really, I don't know why you'd want to have so much access to this high end when really most frequencies above around here, the human ear can't hear anyway. So usually I advise leaving stuff like FFT filter and other EQs on logarithmic scales rather than linear, everyone is equal scales, if you see what I mean. So there we go. We'll hop into more EQing in just a moment, but let's hop back and see what you have been saying.
Monday to Friday live.
Yeah.
This is Mike Russell from musicradiocreative.com.
That's right. You can go to the website at
musicradiocreative.com.
Thank you. Thank you for joining the show, by the way, today. If you haven't shared this show with a friend, please go ahead, share it with a friend who you think would be interested in all these audio tips and tricks, radio producing, making your own podcast and helping it sound great, that kind of stuff. That's what we cover here. Helping voiceover artists to be their best, reduce the bass rumble, and do fun things all the time. That's what we do.
Audio production and more. This is Mike Russell on Music
MusicRadioCreative.com.
The audio guru is here. He knows Adobe Audition in and out and is here to help you out. Mike Russell.
All right, then. So what we got going on here? Yes. David Silks confirmed that C2H compressed to heck. That's the nice acronym. What else have we got here? May I ask, what is the best use of mastering for a song? Only vocals or the whole song? Some say only vocals that you should master. Really, mastering is for the final product, Sasta. So you want to only be using the mastering effect when your production, whether that be a song, a jingle, even a voiceover production, is finished. And you should not be using mastering to fix things. You should only be using it to enhance that and make it the best it can be. It's kind of like self-improvement when you read a book by Tim Ferriss. You want to become the best version of yourself. You're trying to make your audio production the best version of itself. You can't change the audio production, just like you can't change yourself, but you can improve yourself. Yeah, so that's self-help and mastering. Kind of similar things, really. For self-help for audio, that's what mastering is. I should do a beat mix using the actual mixing decks. Yeah, that's a good idea for a new show, actually. I would definitely really like to do that. Yannick Sands is saying yes to doing a live event of some form. Paris to London is only 2 hours. Yeah, we're not too far from Paris, so definite good possibilities there. Thank you for the heads up on that. Kitchen Newbie says, I'd love to attend a basics course, really basic, like meddling through, but would love to be helped. Interesting. So, I keep thinking that maybe people want to learn more stuff than just the basics, but I understand a lot of people coming into the stream and catching me maybe live for the first time really want to know the very basic stuff. But sometimes I worry about going too basic, and kind of just reteaching the same stuff that maybe a lot of people watching will already know. Joe has a choppy picture. I don't know. Anyone else experiencing that? David says the pic's okay for him, but thanks. Thanks for that. So there we go. What else have we got here in the question? We have got Tim Redman is saying singing. Is that referring to what you're doing now or what you'd like to learn at the course? Singing. Or maybe he's just referring to the jingles I played. David always gets really excited, David Hunter, when I play a donut or a ramp, technical names for jingles. We need to share the love with Aphrodite. Oh, yes, of course. Here at Music Radio Creative, we have multiple jingle themes. May as well play them. Why not? Seeing as we've got a spare moment here before I dive back into EQ. MRC Aphrodite. I believe it is one of David Hunter's favourite jingles. But do you know what? We don't play it enough on this show. Probably because I haven't got a sung jingle to go with the theme. But you can actually buy this from our website if you want. If you want it sung with a jingle singer or on its own with a voiceover artist or something like that, this is the Music Radio Creative Aphrodite theme. It's rather good and big and fat, isn't it? It even has a logo. There we go. Yes, love the Aphrodite jingle. Is really nice, isn't it? So there you go. Yes, lots of different themes and bits available. I'm really glad you enjoy it. I could do a YouTube playlist on the basics. I could, couldn't I? Oh, so many good ideas coming in today. Thank you, Praise Worship, for mentioning that in the chat. Let's see if there's anything else worth mentioning at the moment. Lots of you watching on Facebook. Dylan would like me to come to Plymouth and do an audio production course down there. It's not too far away from where I am. Paul Orr is watching from Tennessee. Nice to see you, Paul. Says, I would like to visit a seminar where 2 or 3 days are spent immersed in digital editing. Workshops that teach the ins and outs of Adobe Audition, where there are workstations and you can be a coach as you're working the program. It would be phenomenal. I believe connecting and camaraderie with other audio producers from around the world would be amazing. Please forgive the typos, though. I'm using talk to text. Yeah, really, really cool idea. We've got Bogdan watching from Romania as well. Really cool stuff. Maureen's there. Vilma in the Philippines. Really, really nice stuff. So yeah, lots of cool stuff going on in there. Gosh, yes, lots of you suggesting different cities to come to. Amazing. Steve Moore says, how about coming to Dallas to do a workshop? Or Patrick recommends Nakuru County in Kenya. Oh, wow. Amazing. Ben says the MRC World Tour sounds epic. My goodness me. Well, if there's enough of you that want it, then we'll get this idea off the ground, I think, in 2018. But there's got to be enough of you that would actually want this and actually pay to come to an event like this to not only learn and meet people. Obviously, I'd love to be involved in it, but I'm sure we'd source other people. But also, I think it really is about meeting and connecting with others as well. So there you go. Right, let's hop back over to my copy of Adobe Audition here, CC 2018. So far, we've gone through mastering and how it can be really handy, and the frequency analysis window and amplitude statistics when you want to get two jingles sounding the same, even if they're produced by an external company or someone you don't know. That's the way you can quickly match stuff up. We've also gone through in the effects menu the FFT filter and the graphic equalizers here. Notch filter, I kind of touched on a little bit yesterday. I think it was yesterday.
You are now tuned.
You are now tuned, so or tuned, as we say in America. If you go to the notch filter, this is more of a filter that will bring out weird frequencies you didn't even know that were there in a voice.
You are now tuned.
See, it sounds rather spacey, doesn't it?
You are now tuned.
And that's all coming from the voice, Ice Cream Truck.
You are now tuned.
And I guess this could work really well with music as well. Let's open this up and use the notch filter on this. So this is not so much, I would say, for EQing audio, but more for bringing out different audio parts of your composition. Switch it off. So it's really enhancing different frequencies there. Ice Cream Truck, let's try that. That's weird, isn't it? And then switch it off. So it's really bringing out certain frequencies, kind of what it says on the tin, really, notching those frequencies up by a heavy amount, by 25 dB. So really pulling out those interesting frequencies. You can, of course, move these frequencies around. All wobbly. You can have some real fun with this. I think this is more of a fun effect rather than an actual serious EQ, unless you're trying to specifically maybe remove some ground hum or something. I'll show you how to do that, actually, because that would be quite interesting. You could kind of do this with a voiceover as well. So let's just go into this one. Again, filter and EQ, notch, and let's notch this around. DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs. Here's another one. DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs. Here's another one. Really, really weird stuff, isn't it, the notch filter? But anyway, yeah, you can notch out frequencies. You can turn the dB gain up or down. So yeah, if you had like really bad frequencies, you could notch out those bad frequencies. And actually, yeah, you can see here on the real-time frequency display the frequencies that were enhanced the last time around. DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs. What could be really cool, I was just thinking for this notch filter, let's see if we can, I'm going to turn down all those notches so they're all at 0, and I'm just going to use one notch here, and it's going to be this notch. By the way, you notice that the gain was moving on all of them previously. That's because I had fixed gain ticked. You see, if I do fixed gain, it moves all the gains simultaneously at the same time. Whereas if I set that back to 0 and untick fixed gain, then we can just move one frequency around. This could be quite fun for adding a kind of almost ring modulated sound to the voice. Let's have a mess with it and see what we can do. DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs. Here's another one. DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs. Here's another one. DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs. Here's another one. That's so cool, isn't it? I could really have some fun with that. Not quite sure creatively how I would use that, but it's there. And you can change, obviously, the width of the notch. So we've got narrow, but we can also have very narrow or super narrow, like that. Let's have a play with a super narrow notch. DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs. Here's another one. Yeah, weird. Weird as heck. But anyway, That's notch filter. Let's move on to something else. Let's go back to filter and EQ. Yes, my favorite. Parametric equalizer. Let's set this to default. This is just brilliant because this is like notching up and finding the frequencies that you want to enhance or decrease. And most third-party plugins work with some kind of parametric EQ option as well, which is why it can be quite handy to know what it does. So just like before, we had on the graphic equalizer all the different frequency bands here, and we were kind of moving them up in a kind of up-down slider fader fashion. With this, you can not only go up, but you can also go around, and you can swipe through frequencies to find those frequencies, kind of like a I don't know, a mouse under the carpet trying to find the right point. Where's the cheese? Where's the piece of cheese? Ah, there's the cheese, kind of thing, or taking it out or whatever. So you try and find the cheese in your voice, the bit you like, the cheesy bit, and enhance it using the right frequencies. So let's have a play. In practicality, I would just scan this up and just find a frequency that sounds nice and then focus on it.
DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs.
Now, I think you'll find if we move the Q up on this, make it notchy, this will act almost like the notch filter. Have a listen now.
DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs. Here's another one.
So you can hear the notch filter kind of effect working. This can be quite good if there's a frequency you really don't like in the voice. You can scan through and you can listen for frequencies that sound awful.
DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs.
And I think somewhere up here there was a kind of real squeaky noise.
DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs. Here's another one.
So really squeaky around there. We might say that's a frequency we want to kind of notch out.
DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200...
And then switch it off.
DJ Good Music has written or produced over...
So it's just kind of taking the squeakiness out of the voice. And you can do this on a ninja level. Again, increase... I did notice on the previous jingle I was working with, they increased around the 200 hertz point. So let's do a notch there.
DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs.
That'll really help me to cut through music later on. High shelf gain here. We can change the shape of that as well, make it a little more...
DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs.
Roll off bass, always a favorite. Change the shape and roll that bass down.
DJ Good Music has written or produced over 200 of your favorite songs.
And if you go into spectral frequency, you can see what's going on between the two versions. You can also see that if you roll off enough bass, you'll see this starting to disappear at the bottom. See how it's going less yellow, meaning the bass is disappearing? And sometimes if you're recording, particularly in a noisy environment, you might notice you have a load of rumble going on down here, and you want to get rid of that. That's how it can be quite handy to just notch off up until the frequency. Although saying that, there is a much better way that you can get rid of annoying frequencies at the bass end. So as you can see, I don't really have much bass rumble on my recording. Maybe just a tad. Sometimes it's a lot worse, particularly, if you're near a noisy road or your microphone isn't quite good at cutting off the bass. You can do a bass roll-off. And the way I would suggest doing that, and I'm going to show you this before getting into the final section where I'll look at third-party EQ plugins and how they can save you a lot of time. If you go into Filter and EQ, this is the final one available, Scientific Filter. And this is really, really, really cool. Let's just do a mirrored preview zoom here. Really cool if we just change the cutoff down to 0. So look at the bass here going on in the voice and the bass here. Now, if I start to roll this up to cut off below 200 hertz, you'll see this starting to go a little opaque, up a bit more, and you'll see I'm starting to roll off bass. And the further I roll up, the further it's going to roll off frequencies from the bottom of my voice here. See that? All disappearing, thanks to our lovely Butterworth curve. Now it's virtually a lot of the bass is gone. Now, if you had some bass rumble issues, you'd probably only need to set that at about 100 or 200 hertz, and that will cut out any problematic stuff in your microphone. Start to go up to 1,000 hertz, and you're cutting out frequencies from the voice. As you can see here, the waveform starts going a bit thinner. You can choose different types of curve here, bezel, or I'm not going to try and pronounce that one. Shebachev. They're just very subtle in their differences, apart from elliptical, which is a crazy kind of notch there. You're kind of notching out a certain frequency and then rolling off the rest. Again, there might be a reason for that. If you're mastering a certain instrument and there's a certain notchy frequency you want to get rid of, but you also want to roll off bass, then elliptical could be good for you. But Scientific Filter is good. It's also really good if we go back to Butterworth and go to the 250 hertz region or 350 hertz region for making that imaging style voice.
DJ Good Music.
Sounds like that, but then roll it off.
DJ Good Music
Roll it
has
on.
written or produced over 200 of your favourite songs.
So
here's another one.
Wonderful for just cutting off bass and giving you that imaging sound. So there you go. Okay, right. I'm going to get into some third-party plugins in the last 10 or so minutes in this session, but really do appreciate all of the lovely comments that you put in the chat. Very, very grateful for you interacting while I'm live streaming. Let's have a look at what it is you have been saying. Let's try and answer some more of those questions if I can. Wow, David says, that sounds like a fantastic big idea from Paul Orr to run like 2 or 3 day boot camp, maybe in a city like London. Yeah, Paul has already said he would travel from Tennessee to London for that. So really cool to know that that's of interest. And yeah, if enough people would be interested, definitely something. Tim would like a workshop in Middlesbrough. Why not? Yeah, throw in your locations. It's always good to know where you're watching from. What else have we got? Thank you to Joseph Gerardi, I think that is. Said, I've learned so much from you in the last weeks. Thanks so much. It's absolutely my pleasure. David is commenting on the, I can't put your question on the screen, but loving the notch filter, something else to play with. Do I dare EQ and mastering headsets, or do you work on monitors? Yeah, it's a really good question. So I use my headphones quite a lot, especially when I'm live streaming, but I'll also flip them off like this and I'll listen on the monitors as well. I do think it's important to get an idea how audio sounds, not only through the headphones, but also through your monitors. And if you can, stick it through some earbuds and even a car radio or a home hi-fi, just to hear how things sound on different systems. Very, very important indeed. And yeah, I can't recommend that enough. Particularly, I mean, I use DT770 headphones, so they're really good quality. But you might be using a lesser quality headphones. Like, for instance, I love these to bits, these Beats wireless headphones, but their sort of range of frequencies, the frequency response is terrible. So I would never use them for doing audio production. I so want to scratch vinyl, so you know I really do. Any other questions? Fire them in the last 10 minutes. I'll try and squeeze in another question or two if I can. And like I said at the beginning of the show, by the way, if you are interested in one-on-one coaching with myself, if you've already learned quite a bit from watching these tutorials and you'd like an hour just to really dig into the nitty-gritty of what it is you want to get your head around in the audio world, head over to mrc.fm/coaching, completely full now for November, but a couple of spaces left for the month of December before the Christmas break. So a couple more bookings that I'm able to accept for the month of December, and I would love the opportunity to work with you one-on-one and help you to improve whatever it is you want to improve or learn about or know. If there's a certain effect or bunch of effects you want to cover in our coaching session, more than happy to do that. If you want to bring along some jingles you've heard and you're like, Mike, how do I make this sound, this sound, this sound? Or if you're a voice artist and you want to just like tidy up and make sure you're producing the best quality audio to send out to demos and clients and show reels and etc., can help you with that. If you're a podcaster, want to get the best sound for your podcast, all that kind of stuff, very happy to do it. And just a couple more sessions now for the rest of 2017 at mrc.fm/coaching. That's the place to go, mrc.fm/coaching. Right, let's have a look now at some third-party plugins, which I really, really like. One of my favorites of which is, let's get rid of these two here. Let's put in some music, back to Music Beds, and we're going to hop into Dance Trance and pick something up, like Eurodance. Can we hear it? Whoa. Something like that. And then we'll pop in a voice. Let's pop in Duke's voice up here. I'm just going to normalize his audio because you can't really see his waveform. So favorites normalized to -0.1 dB. And play, and you'll probably hear him clashing with this audio, but that's what EQ is for, so let's figure it all out.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
Okay, so that's what we're going to work with. Can do lots with this. Now, I'm just going to focus on EQ. I would probably go through and compress as well, change levels. Let's start from an equal footing by selecting both and matching the clip loudness. Boom.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
So the idea is to EQ Duke's audio and the music bed so that Duke really pops out against this music bed. I'm going to use third-party plugins, and the first one I will use is, let's make sure we've selected this first audio waveform here. And we'll go to VST3, equalization, EQ, and we'll go to waves first of all. And I am going to take a look at, what is a really good one here? I'll probably go for the Q10. Q10 is a very popular plugin from Waves Audio, who have a Black Friday sale on now, by the way. If you want to get Waves plugins, even if they're on sale price, at a further 10% discount, use the coupon code that's available at mrc.fm/waves. That's mrc.fm/waves. And as you can see, very much like a parametric EQ here, 10 different points you can work on, so it's even more powerful than the parametric equalizer inside Audition, which has only 5 or 6 points, I think.
You're listening.
We can increase or decrease various different points here, as you can see.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
So we can really notch around and find out what we want to work with.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
And we might just go and take up...
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
Already sounding cool. Roll off some bass here. Oh, yeah, okay. Change the shape. Oh, yeah, you can have a different type. So that's obviously the notch. We've got a notch like that or a notch like that. Obviously, a notch like that will be the best. Or, kind of a low-pass or high-pass filters. Or tiny notches.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
So we could do something like that. Then over here, I'll show you another plugin from Waves Audio, a different one. Squeezing these in before the end of the show, by the way. VST3 EQ. Another one I quite like from Waves is the Vintage EQ, VEQ. And you can go in here. This, as you'll see, is a little bit different because it's very, very holistic, very old school.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
So high pass and low pass going on there. So we can roll off some of the different frequencies, and again.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
Turn the low frequencies up or down.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
You can turn up and down as well. So yeah, kind of vintage styles if you're used to playing with vintage equalizers. But now I'm going to delete both of those, and the final third-party plugin that I will show you is from iZotope. And I love this baby to bits. iZotope Neutron. Let's load it in here. Make sure the compressor is switched off. Close the presets. And this is really, really cool. There's a really cool feature if you get iZotope Neutron. I believe they've recently released some new versions, but I still really like Neutron. iZotope Neutron, put it on both tracks. So now we have, we have 2 tracks here that we're working with. Let's see. So this is the music bed, and this is the voiceover bed, and you can actually make the EQ work in sort of in tandem with the voiceover. Let me try and give you an example of how it works. So it's been a while since I've used this, but let me try and remember it. So we have got here learn. Okay, you can learn the different settings. Oh yeah, so first of all, I'm going to label this. Let's see, solo.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
Okay, so this one is the voice, and this one is the music. All right, so we've labeled it EQ for voice, EQ for music over here. And then what we'll do is take that off solo. We can do masking here and masking here. Now, if I select, I want to mask this with the music, what it should do is give me the ability to change the EQ based on in a reactive way to the music, which is brilliant. So if I've got a voiceover that's conflicting with a music bed, I can use the EQ to make it cut through. So let's work.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
So notice as I did that, I clicked the learn button, so it's learning the best frequencies to change here.
You're listening.
And then if I click inverse link here, what should happen is, yes, you can see as I'm increasing a frequency, which I learned through the learn process here, it's decreasing the frequency on the other end, on the music end, automatically for me, which is fantastic. So let's just go with what iZotope has suggested for me. This should make the voice cut across the music much better.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
And that really does sound good. Just to show you the difference, I'm going to switch off the EQ and then switch it back on so you can hear.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
That's without those settings, and this is with the settings.
You're listening to Battle Rattle Radio.
I think you'll agree that the second version you can hear the voice much better just thanks to a little bit of EQing. And as you can see with inverse link and masking enabled and the learn feature here, you can really learn which frequencies it is you should be working on in the voice. And again in the music, you can learn different things on the music if it's the music you want to enhance as opposed to the voice. But yeah, so much you can learn about this. Not enough time to cover it all. Suffice to say, iZotope Neutron I highly recommend as a third-party plugin for your EQ, as well as the Waves bunch of stuff. Maybe grab yourself a Black Friday deal from iZotope or Waves. They always make quality stuff. And like I say, if it's Waves you're interested in, mrc.fm/waves will get you a further 10% coupon to really get you a nice discount on any plugins you're looking to get just ahead of this lovely festive season that is coming up. Let's have one more quick jingle. Thank you for joining me on the show today, by the way. It's been a lot of fun. As always, I thoroughly enjoy it.
Audio production and more. This is Mike Russell on musicradiocreative.com.
All right, so like I say, really fun to have your company for this whole hour. I hope you've learned a little bit more about what EQ is in audio production. Tomorrow, final show of the week, we're covering music bed editing for radio. So that's your bag, like editing tracks out, making them sound tight and cool and work with promos and stuff. Tune in for it. Subscribe to my channel at youtube.com/musicradiocreative. Another really cool place to go, by the way, is the podcast link. Go and grab the podcast at mrc.fm/podcast, and you can get the audio version of these. I usually upload it straight after the show. So if you have a busy life and you can't catch every stream, at least you can tune in and catch up with the audio version when you're washing the dishes or commuting or driving from place to place. So that's mrc.fm/podcast. Lovely to chat to you on today's show. I will be back tomorrow from 2 p.m. UK time, whatever time that is in your time zone. Thank you for joining me, and catch you then.